Around Jesus Cristo, but I also don't want it to be wobbly because I sit here, then I can have my arm down.
How much of that sense of
asshole.
like missing the parade, or that sense of dislocation, do you think was about having to hide the secret about your being gay?
That was just really one thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it just compounded it and made it awful. You know, when I was young. But I think that's how I was wired. I think I was wired with a lot of anxiety. You know, we come into the world a certain way. And we all know this. My experience is in my family is so different than my brother and my sisters. That if you were to hear the stories, you would think we grew up in different families.
Which parents were those we're talking about?
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
It sort of continues though. That you talk about a great phrase I love. I think this is when you were at Cornell, so you were well into your 20s, and you had what you call my phase of for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, you were kind of hard to be with for a while.
Yeah, I was a pain in the ass. People were very happy to see me in the rearview mirror for a while there. And this was, it started, it had its tender beginnings in Cornell. I mean, I just alienated everybody who wanted to be my friend. And a lot of this was the gay secret at that point. But when I moved to Chicago and started doing theater, for free, the off-loop stuff, and the Shakespeare Company, and I was certain that I was more trained than anybody in the company, and I had more right to tell people what to do, and I was, appalled by their use of the language and how they didn't understand what they were saying, and by the time we were doing a production of Midsummer Night's Dream, and we were all getting into our makeup, and I stood up and I said, after closing night of this particular show, I will be done with this company. There was silence, and I sat back down and continued to put on my makeup. And they, basically it was, don't let the door hit you in the ass. And I remember that the director came up to me and said, well, you're not going to get a gold watch that way, but I wish you're the best.
So when do you think it turned around for you? That you stopped being, the queen of the roast?
Yeah. Well, it's psychology 101. That which you spew at others is what you're feeling inside yourself. So I think the journey toward, it really didn't, that kind of thing, and I still have that every once in a while. I have this kind of bitchiness that comes out, and now I just put it into Sue Sylvester.
It's a good vessel for it.
Yeah, or waitresses, people who can't defend themselves. I like to do that.
High school kids.
Yeah, right.
And
people who really, I have more power over. But I think the road to the self-discovery, which kind of, I was a great navel-gazer. I tried everything, and continue to. I'm still a very curious person about what goes on, and I'm fascinated by my own inner landscape. But when I started, this therapy especially, when I started to take a look at what was going on in the metaphorical closet in me, not just the big gay secret, but all sorts of stuff. You learn before you know it, you can't hate yourself anymore. You can only laugh. You can only laugh. And hold it like a baby and rock it.
Before we swing back to Glee again, because we want to get there for sure. Speaking of happy accidents, of all things, the Frosted Flakes commercial was key in your career. Why don't you tell that how that happened?
Well, I did a lot of commercials like in the late 90s. I went to a callback for the Frosted Flakes commercial, and it said Director Christopher Guest. And I had just seen Guffman, and I literally said out loud to my friend Laura, I said,